Welcome to So You Think You Can Date, a podcast for those ready to do dating differently. I'm Nicki Pappas, a queer, poly, millennial mom who is dating again for the first time in 15 years. What could go wrong? LOLs. While lots can go wrong, and has, a lot has also gone really well. The So You Think You Can Date podcast is about my adventures in dating. You don't have to hold the identities I hold to benefit from the life experiences I share here. Let's talk about communication, connection, and consent, regardless of what type of relationship you are in or looking for. With vulnerability, authenticity, and curiosity, I'm exploring unfamiliar terrain and would love for you to join me. Hello, beautiful people. In this third episode, I'm going to talk about games in dating, why I don't like them, and how we can quit playing them so that we can have healthier and more secure interactions. Something I should have talked about in the first couple of episodes but did not is the idea of figuring out why you are dating. Your personal motivation. There's no right or wrong answer, just your reason or reasons. That way you can date in a way that aligns with your desires. I've seen where people post videos about how to avoid ending up in a situationship. Maybe you do want to avoid that scenario. If that's the case, then take the steps to be upfront and clear about your boundaries and what you are looking for while dating. If you know that you would like to date in order to find out if you can see a long-term partnership with someone, then your dating is going to look different in many ways from the person who is looking for a casual friends with benefits relationship. The more clear you can be with yourself, the more clear you can be with a potential partner or partners. As Brene Brown told us, clarity is kindness. I can confirm that clarity truly is a gift out here in these dating waters. I also want to explain that in episode 1, when I talked about non-attachment as one of my guiding principles, I do not mean detachment. And I feel like detachment comes into play a lot with these games that can happen in dating. I practice non-attachment to a specific outcome, but I am anything but detached. When I love for the joy of it, I tap into my heart space and fully engage emotionally. And yes, my heart gets broken. But as my friend Onika talked about in the clip I pulled from when I interviewed her on my other podcast, Broadening the Narrative, I have the tools needed to heal my heart in community. Now, to get into today's episode, first up, let's address the idea of getting someone to chase you. Stating the obvious here, I am not a ball to be chased, okay? We're not playing fetch here. I'm super not into the notion of getting someone to chase me for several reasons. For starters, I'm a whole human. I have emotions and want to be treated like a human, not an object. I also don't love the idea of making myself more appealing to get someone to, quote, chase me. I am appealing enough just as who I am, living authentically as myself. If that's not appealing enough for someone, then that person is not for me. Another thing I found is that with a lot of people who are addicted to this cycle of chasing someone, once they get you, they don't want you anymore. It's like they want to chase you, but don't want to actually follow through on anything once they've caught you. I don't want to attract that kind of energy into my life anymore. I don't want to be that person anymore who is discarded when the other person has decided that I'm a prize or a toy or a ball or whatever analogy you want to use, and then doesn't want me anymore once they have me. I'm just not about that in my life anymore. At one point I was, and I think that's something to get curious about if you are still there in your life where you are addicted to this sort of cycle and operating in ways that aren't healthy. Ask yourself why. Why do you want this person's attention so badly? I know for me personally, when I was addicted to that cycle, it was partly because I was thinking that if this person who I've elevated to a certain place in my mind, if that person wants me, then I'm worthy or lovable or desirable. You know, I may not be checking off all the boxes of what is considered worthy or lovable or desirable societally, especially as a millennial mom with 3 kids and stretch marks. I also realize that I'm not that interesting according to arbitrary standards of other people, and that's okay. I am really settled in who I am and the life that I'm living. I want to also speak to the reverse when it comes to chasing, and that is if you are doing all the chasing of someone who is displaying avoidant behaviors. I love what my friend Nandi said about this, how it's exhausting. And if you're running away from me, it communicates that you don't want to be caught. So when there is a lack of communication and you have someone wanting you to do all the chasing in order to maintain any sort of contact, that is an unbalanced connection. The lack of reciprocity is cause for a pause to evaluate why you're drawn to that type of energy. Now, I do think there is a distinction to be made between chasing, which can feel very immature, and pursuing someone with intentionality. I think there are differences in how we approach one another if we're stuck in a chasing cycle versus an intentional pursuit of someone. I also want to acknowledge that there are some relationships where there is open communication and all parties consent to the chase as part of their dynamic. And so that is not what I'm referring to here. Obviously, if you and the other person or people feel safe and know that at any point you can say no and you won't have to worry about affection being withdrawn or worry about being punished in some way, then play whatever games you want. If someone does withdraw affection or otherwise attempt to punish you in some way through the silent treatment or other means, that is not your fault. That is on that other person to work through and to be able to respect the boundaries of other people. When it's not a consensual game, though, I have a problem with it. Games that set up some sort of imbalance and that leave someone wondering, is this person even into me or not? These are games where someone is holding all this power and they could help assuage something happening for the other person, but they choose not to. And what I've noticed is that oftentimes it's because they want to keep that other person on the hook. Just tell me if you're into me or not. If you're not into me, I'm a big girl. I'll be fine. I was fine before I met you or before I wondered if you're into me. I will be so fine on the other side of that if you aren't into me. But don't play games with me. I'm too old for the games, right? I'm just over the games. I have things I want to get done. I want to put my time and my energy into other things, not into obsessive loops about, is this person into me or are they not? And yes, it is up to me to get out of that obsessive loop. Absolutely. But I've just noticed this pattern of those types of, in particular, cisgender, heterosexual men who want to keep a cycle going, this unhealthy chasing cycle, or something where they try to keep you hooked, keep you thinking that they're interested in you, and they have no interest in actually acting on the dynamic that they are setting up. Instead, you just end up addicted to the cycle. And it becomes more about what my presence in their life adds to their life. And they don't care about what it is taking away from my life. And I'm not trying to bash these men who are continuing to operate in those cycles. I'm inviting them to heal the places where they are still hurting and the areas they need to work on, while knowing that it is not my job to help them work on that. Let's just be adults and have direct communication. I like you and I like spending time with you. Do you like spending time with me? If so, let's spend time together. If you don't, again, that's fine. Just tell me so I'm not wondering why you made it seem like you want to spend time with me, but then we're not spending any time together. Or you give a vague, let's get together, and I give you some dates, but then I don't hear from you. I'm now at a point in my life where if I didn't hear from you, I just didn't hear from you, and I've moved on. I'm not sitting around waiting, checking my phone, wondering if you're going to text back. I have limited time, and I am investing my time in the people who respect my time. I'm going to prioritize the connections that I have with people where I also feel prioritized. So maybe this person gets back to me and I have to say, oh, I'm booked up for the next 3 weeks because that's happened. And I'm not trying to be rude. I just have limited time. So if you want to spend time with me, book early, right? The calendar gets full. Anyways, no more games. No games. I'm opting out of the games, okay? Opt out. Unsubscribe. I mean, don't unsubscribe from this podcast and listening to me talk about all this really fascinating stuff with dating. You should definitely stay opted in for that. I'm saying I unsubscribe from the games. Now, the last thing I will say, and I say this with so much gentleness, is that if someone keeps playing games with your heart, you can take your power back. You don't have to give your power away to this person. It takes 2 people to stay in an unhealthy cycle and just one to break the cycle. you can make different decisions for yourself to pursue the life you want, surrounded by people who won't play games with your heart. We're out here. We just have to find each other. Thank you so much for tuning in for this third episode of the So You Think You Can Date podcast. Make sure to subscribe to So You Think You Can Date, rate and review the show on all the platforms, and share this episode with someone that you think would enjoy it and who is ready to do dating differently. Also, pre-order my new book, Coming of Age and Coming Out, Stories of Repressed and Reclaimed Sexual Desire. Pre-order today by visiting nickipappas.com/shop. Coming of Age and Coming Out is a collection of stories about coming of age from childhood through adolescence, and then coming out in my 30s as queer and non-monogamous. It will be released in June 2025. With your pre-order purchase, you will receive a free download of the Come Alive guide in your inbox. If you want to follow my writing, you can subscribe to my Substack that is called Coming Alive, where I write about pursuing all that makes us come alive. Per the Howard Thurman quote, "Don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive and go do it, because what the world needs is people who have come alive." Follow me on Instagram at Broadening the Narrative, which is the account I started in 2019 to document my journey in broadening the narratives or stories I was taught about myself and others. Come back next week for an episode about taking risks in dating.